Welcome to Women at Halftime podcast, but not just for women, for you men too. If you're at mid-career or the halftime of life, our inspirational topics are not only fun, but also meant to help you maximize and write your next chapter. Right here with me, Deborah Johnson. Well, hello, Deborah Johnson here, back with you again on the Women at Halftime podcast. And I love the subject today, trustworthy AI for a content creator. Now, this is a very relevant topic today because AI has just been exploding, especially with ChatGPT and some of the other tools. And how do we know what to trust? What sort of content is going to be trustworthy for those of us who write articles, write podcasts, write books? And how do we use this material? So I thought this would be an interesting one because I'm kind of doing a little segment here on AI and to be able to approach some of these topics. Make sure that you connect with me on our newsletter. I have Hero Mountain Summit coming up, and I only open that up to individuals twice a year. So make sure that you get on our newsletter or that you click in on our websites. The information will be there with heromountainsummit.com. You can see it there as well. And also be able to access our materials on goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. And with this newsletter, with this podcast, and with this article, I do have a free download. So make sure that you get that. So let's dive right in. Many of the same principles apply for evaluating trustworthy AI as evaluating trustworthy sources for authors and educational research. And I have found that most blog posts that we find online, they don't substantiate accurate sources. Thus, their claims may or may not be reliable. The developing field of AI is one that is moving so quickly, though what feels like uncharted territory can still be guided with some of the basic boundaries. And this is extremely helpful for us as content creators who consistently produce articles, blogs, and podcasts. We are in the information age and relying on unreliable or biased information that can lead to misinformation, flawed arguments, and faulty conclusions. So by evaluating sources for accuracy, we can ensure that our work is based on solid evidence, valid data, and well-established knowledge. And this fosters trust among our peers and among the community. And it also provides additional educational content and ideas from thought leaders. So we're going to cover 5 principles for evaluating trustworthy sources for trustworthy AI. So make sure you get the free download, again, that it will outline these 5 principles. Number 1, assess authority. First, examine the qualifications and the expertise of the author or the organization behind the information. You look for indicators such as academic degrees, professional certifications, or relevant experience in the field. You have to consider the author's affiliation with reputable institutions or with established universities, research organizations, or recognized experts that lend the credibility to the source. And additionally, examine the author's publication history, reviewing whether they have published in reputable journals or have a track record of producing reliable and accurate information. And we need to just use common sense here in evaluation, as there are many that from reputable affiliations, but degrees and affiliations and awards don't guarantee credible and accurate content. And many times, like a ChatGPT, they don't give you some of these sources. So you need to do your research. Another way to assess authority is by analyzing the peer review process. Now, peer-reviewed sources, they undergo a rigorous evaluation by experts in the field who assess the quality and validity of the research or information. So look for the publications that mention those peer reviews or that are published in scholarly journals with a strong peer review process. And peer review sources often indicate a higher level of authority and trustworthiness as they have been critically evaluated and approved by knowledgeable peers in the field. Now, this may feel like you're doing a thesis or a graduate work, but we have to take that attitude and making sure these sources are trustworthy. And if we don't know where they came from, we just need to do that research. We can find out. So number 2, evaluate the accuracy. So first, you check if the information is supported by credible evidence and verifiable sources. And then you look for citations, references, or links to other reputable works that support the claims or the statements made. Now, the presence of reliable sources, it adds credibility and strengthens the accuracy of the information. And additionally, we can cross-reference the information with multiple sources to identify consistency and corroboration. If the same facts or claims are consistently supported by various sources, reliable sources, it increases the likelihood of accuracy. Now, on the other hand, if there are inconsistencies or conflicting information, further investigation is necessary to determine the most accurate and reliable version. And second, be wary of potential bias or manipulation in the information presented. Assess whether the source provides a balanced and an objective perspective on the topic, or if it exhibits a particular agenda or a slant. Now, bias can manifest itself through cherry-picked data, omission of relevant information, or the use of emotionally charged language. So look for the signs of objectivity, such as fair presentation of different viewpoints or acknowledgement of potential limitations. Independent and unbiased sources are more likely to provide accurate and reliable information that's not skewed or distorted by personal or ideological biases. A sense of discernment will be of value here. And one of the things that has happened with our media is with information that's been cherry-picked for certain media platforms, and very dangerous here. And we want as content creators to be unbiased in our material. So 3, consider objectivity. Realize that no source can be entirely unbiased, but it's crucial to discern the degree of objectivity and transparency in the presentation of the information. First, it's important to be aware of potential biases or conflicts of interest that may be influencing the information presented. So investigate the background and affiliations of the author or organization to identify any potential biases, and look for disclosures of financial interests, political affiliations, or any associations that may influence the objectivity of the source. A source that acknowledges and transparently addresses his potential biases, it's more likely to provide that objective information. In fact, I have interviewed those going through medical issues, and they know not to just go to Dr. Google online, as we say, just Googling your symptoms. You can find everything from a brain tumor to cancer with some sort of symptom. So it's important to be objective. And next, examine the language and the tone and the overall presentation of the information. Objective sources tend to present information in a balanced and impartial manner, So look for signs of fairness, such as inclusion or of diverse perspectives, or at least the acknowledgement of the counter arguments. Avoid sources that resort to an inflammatory language. This is common sense, but people need to use common sense. And if they use personal attacks or overly emotional appeals, those can indicate a lack of objectivity. Additionally, cross-referencing with the information with multiple sources, it can help identify consistency or discrepancies in the way that the information is presented, further assisting in evaluating objectivity. And if the information sounds too good to be true, well, it just might be. So 4, wow, we are just blowing through these here. But again, I want you to focus on common sense and use your intuition. And there's so much information out there right now. And with AI, it's a wonderful tool. But just to make sure that you can go back and substantiate what it's telling you. 4, examine currency. Now, this is interesting. Examining the currency and timelessness of sources is essential when evaluating their trustworthiness. So first, consider the publication date of the source. Depending on the topic or subject matter, it's important to ensure that the information is up to date and it reflects the most current understanding or developments in the field. And realize that much of ChatGPT, the information, it was taken from 2021 sources, so at least the time of this post. So be aware of that fact relating to statistics or trends. It'll usually tell you it doesn't have that current information. So look for recent publications or updated editions of books to ensure that the information is relevant and reflective of the latest research and knowledge. Now, this is particularly important for topics that undergo rapid advancements or are being influenced by ongoing events. And this can be medical, it can be financial, many areas here. So second, consider the context and historical significance of the information. Now, while currency is crucial, certain sources might provide valuable insights and enduring knowledge, even if they were published long ago. And in such cases, assessing the timelessness of the source becomes important. So look for sources that have stood the test of time with their ideas, concepts, or theories that are still considered relevant and widely cited in current literature. There are some classics like this. So evaluating the impact and influence of a source over time, it can help to gauge the enduring value and the contribution in the field. Balancing both currency and timelessness, it ensures that the information obtained is not only current, but also it has a solid foundation based on established knowledge and historical context. I have found this especially valuable in looking up historical references and finding the actual sources where some of those quotes and biographies come from, especially valuable. So don't discount some of the historical references and materials, but just to make sure that you know where it came from. So number 5, look for consistency. Again, this is common sense. First, consider cross-referencing the information with multiple sources. Then compare the information presented in the source under evaluation with other reputable and reliable sources. If the information aligns consistently across multiple sources, it strengthens its reliability and credibility. And on the other hand, if there are discrepancies or contradictions between sources, it indicates the need for further investigation to determine the most accurate and the most reliable information. Consistency among credible sources, it helps to establish a more comprehensive and accurate understanding of the topic. Now, second, consider the internal consistency within the source itself. Look for coherence. What am I trying to say? Coherence and logical flow. Yes, that it flows together in the information that's presented. And assess whether the claims and the arguments and the supporting evidence within the source are logically connected and consistent. Inconsistencies, contradictions, or unsupported assertions within the source, it raises questions about its reliability and accuracy. Well, a trustworthy source, it should provide that coherent and internally consistent narrative with evidence and information that reinforce each other. And this is an additional area to use common sense and intuition. By ensuring both external and internal consistency, individuals can make more informed and informal judgments about the trustworthy of a source. So how do we sum this up with trustworthy AI? Well, by employing these principles, which are very basic, individuals can effectively evaluate the trustworthiness of sources and make informed decisions based on reliable and accurate information. Now, we realize that this takes extra work, but it will pay off in building trust and also building a catalog of very valuable content. I've given you some additional resources in the article, so make sure you click in on that. When I was doing graduate work, we went into libraries. I went into the archives to get the information that I needed. And now we can get so much online. But again, do we know where it came from? Very important. And using ChatGPT, it's so much fun, actually, when it starts expanding what you've said. And usually it's the input that's most important as to the quality of the output. But you want to make sure that it still says the right things and the right principles. Otherwise, it becomes a bunch of words. It becomes and it can become very fluff material because it could be very generalized. So make sure that you do have some of those sources. And we've talked before about medical sources, and you get those usually from your white papers, the true medical research, or you get them from maybe some educational or some medical sources that are doing the actual research there. The same thing runs true with even financial sources and others. So just to make sure that you can go back to the main source. And in books, if you're doing some of that research in books, just look to see what they're quoted and where those are from. The same thing can apply to what you're doing with AI and with ChatGPT. You can ask for certain sources or an expanded list of sources. And actually, it works pretty well to do that. So good luck with that. Make sure, again, that you connect with me, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter, and that you can also connect with me with Deborah Johnson Speaker and DJ Works Music. I love being able to do some events when they fit into my schedule, live events especially. Of course, I'm here with you every single week, sometimes with some bonus episodes as well, with our Women at Halftime podcast. And make sure that you click into our HeroMountainSummit.com for our new course that's out all online now with the Hero Mountain Summit. So I will look forward to being with you again next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.